Alright lads, welcome back to the channel. Today, yes, I am back in my normal setup. I've come back off holiday. It came back a few days ago, I think. But yeah, today we're going to be doing my predictions for next season and how I think the championship table will pan out and who will finish where. I'm sorry I didn't upload a semi-finals predictions thing for the Champions League. I just completely forgot it happened, to be honest, because I've been catching up with a bunch of people after I come off on holiday, like my friends and stuff. But yeah, I completely forgot about that, so I don't think there's any point, because the PSG Leipzig one was last night, and the Bayern Lyon one is tonight. So I don't think there's any point doing any predictions for those ones. I might do one for the final when I do the reviews of the quarterfinals. But yeah, I think I will do one in the. I'll do a prediction of the final when I review the quarterfinals. But I'm sorry, I just completely forgot about the semi-finals. Right. I'll review the quarters, right? I'll do that in one video, and then I'll review the semis, even though I didn't predict them, and then predict the final, and then I'll predict the final, and I'll do something with that. But yeah, alright, without further ado, then let's just get straight into what I think the championship table will look like at the end of the coming season. Obviously, we got some different teams in it this year. Obviously, Wickham, they're promoted, a bit of a shock team in there, as well as Watford and Bournemouth, two new teams relatively, because always have those yo-yo teams like Norwich, as they've come down as well, and Barnsley and Rotherham, like they're like a yo-yo team between League One and the Championship. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into what I think the Championship table will look like at the end of next season. Format we will do this in, we're going to go in little sections of it, because I think like just reviewing each team will be too short, and doing it all at once would be too long, because I'd probably like mess up midway through. So what we're going to do, we're going to do the top two, then the playoffs, then 7th to 12th, like the mid-table or like close to playoffs region, the bottom of the table, 13th to 21st, and then the relegation zone. Without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to do top two first. Top two, I think, will be, I think Brentford will finish first and Watford second. I think Brentford will finish first because if they do keep that solid squad that they had this year, I think they'll probably cruise to the promotion, to be honest. Obviously, Watford and Bournemouth coming down, and Norwich, but I just do think it'll be quite easy for Brentford. Last season, they finished third in the Championship on 81 points, obviously, and then losing in the playoff final, unfortunately for them. And they did really bottle automatic promotion, as West Brom slipped up twice, opening the door, but they didn't manage to walk through that door, as a cliche would be said. Obviously, as I just said, they finished on 81 points, where they won 24 games, drawing 9 games and losing 13 games. Watford, I think they will finish second this year. Obviously, last season they got relegated after a decent enough stay in the Premier League. They finished 19th in the Premier League on 34 points, winning just 8 of their games, drawing 10 and losing 20. I think Watford will lose some of that squad, obviously, like the likes of Ismaila Sarr, Decore, maybe, Capoue. They've got a solid squad. I think Dean will stay, because he's just been at Watford forever, obviously. But yeah, I think if they can keep a majority of their squad, I think they'll bounce back pretty easily from the Championship, back into the Premier League. But if they do lose the majority of that squad, I think they could find it tough to get out of this league, as the Championship is just such a tough league nowadays. On to 3rd to 6th, who I think will finish in those positions. I think in 3rd place, I think Bournemouth will finish in 3rd place there. Obviously, they had a 5-year stay in the Premier League, but ended up coming down this season, finishing 18th, with just 34 points, the same as Watford, but finishing above them on goal difference. They won a total of 9 games and drew 7. And, sorry, I forgot about losing. They lost 22, so they lost 2 more games than Watford, but drew 3 less and won 1 more, as they ended up finishing on equal points. I think Bournemouth, if they can keep, again, it's the similar case with Watford, and as it is always with the teams coming down from the Premier League, although they do get massive parachute payments, so even if they do lose those players, then I don't think it really matters, because they get the money from those players, which helps them buy back players, and then the parachute payments, which help them buy back players. But yeah, so I think even if they do lose a few key players, obviously they've lost Ryan Fraser already, but if they lose Josh King and Callum Wilson, I think that'll be a big blow for them, but they can possibly sign back like a Championship striker who just scores goals in Championships and is a proven goal scorer. But I think they'll be alright. In 4th spot, I think it will be Swansea City who to finish in 4th. Obviously, last season they lost in the playoffs against Brentford, finishing 6th. They finished their season on 70 points, winning 18 of their games, drawing 16 and losing 12. Obviously, they've got a solid side. I don't think anyone will really leave Swansea this summer. Obviously, Andre Ayew, a key player for them, and if they manage to keep hold of him, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because I think he's a bit underrated, is Andre Ayew, so I don't think anybody will come for him, and I think if they keep a squad there as strong as they had last season and just add little improvements to that team, I think they could finish higher than they did last season and really actually have a good go at promotion. In 5th spot, I think many of you will be shocked with this. I'm going to go for Stoke. They've strengthened quite a bit this summer. Obviously, they've signed Fletcher and Fox after they didn't sign contracts at Wednesday, unfortunately. Sad to see them go as a Wednesday fan. But they've also signed John Obi Mikel, a very experienced player, Champions League winner of Chelsea. So I think they could be a real force next season. Obviously, they finished 15th last season in the Championship on 56 points, finishing above one spot above Wednesday on goal difference, I think it was. They won 16 of them games, only 2 less than Swansea, who finished 6th. So that's quite a decent stat. That they only finished and they finished like a good decent amount behind Swansea on points. I think as I'm looking here, trying to do the maths, 14 points. I think that's the maths. I don't know. Well, they won 16, drew 8, and lost 22. But yeah, as I just said, those signings, I think there could be a real force next season. Obviously, they were a strong enough side, and with the team they had on paper over the last few years, I didn't really expect them to be in the mess they have been recently. But yeah, I think they can push for promotion with their new signings they've already gotten, but they can still add to that as well. In 6th spot, I think it will be Norwich City. So I think all the teams that are relegated from the Premier League, they'll finish in the top 6. I think that will happen. Norwich, obviously, like I said earlier in the video, in the intro, they are one of those yo-yo sides who just keeps going up and down and finishing around the top 6 and stuff. Last season, they finished on a measly 21 points in the Premier League. It's just a really poor season for them. Winning 5, including one of them being against champions Man City. Drew 6 games and lost 27 of their total games, which is quite a decent amount. And again, it's a similar case as it was with Watford and Bournemouth. If they keep their good players, as in Todd Cantwell, Timu Pukki, who helped them go up to the Premier League last season, then I think they will perform well. But I think they will make it into the playoffs. But if they do lose those players, I think it'll be a struggle. But as I say, they've got the parachute payments and the money to get for those. If they do sell those players, obviously like Emiliano Buendia, he was key for them last season, providing a lot of assists. But yeah, I don't think Norwich will scrape it in, making it 6th spot. So just to cap it off, my playoff places, I think it'll be Bournemouth in 3rd, Swansea in 4th, Stoke in 5th, and Norwich in 6th. On to the 7th to 12th category, and in 7th spot starting off, I've gone with Nottingham Forest. Obviously, last season they finished 7th, bottle in the playoffs. They finished on 70 points, but just outside it on goal difference behind Swansea City, with 18 wins, 16 draws, I think that is. I don't know why my writing's awful on here. Like, oh, I don't know if you can see that properly, but like, there. Oh, that's a right mess. And then they lost 12, the same results as Swansea. But again, I think it might be a similar case to last season. I think they'll get so close, but then they just won't have that extra bit of quality in their team to push on and secure that playoff spot. Obviously, they've got the transfer window. If they do strengthen in certain positions, then they could have a good go at the playoffs, but I think they'll just fall short again. In 8th spot, I'm going to go with Cardiff City. Obviously, they've got a strong side. I don't think anyone really expected them to make it into the playoffs last year, but they did, finishing 5th on 73 points with 19 wins, 16 draws, and 11 losses. I think, again, it's another case with Forest. As it is with Forest, I think they'll get close, but just not enough, as they will... Like, obviously, we've got some good teams coming down this year with Watford and Bournemouth, 2 teams who've had a decent lengthy stay in the Premier League, who will obviously strengthen in the summer, try and get some, as most of their main players leave, to go probably back up to a Premier League club. Like Bournemouth have already lost Ake, haven't they? A solid defender for them. But I think Cardiff, yeah, I don't think they'll be able to compete with the teams coming down, so I think they will finish in 8th spot. On to 9th spot now. And I think that will be Preston North End. And again, like Forest, the way this place I'm predicting them in for next season, they finished in last season. As Preston finished 9th, like Forest finished 7th. Finished 9th on 66 points, winning 18 of their games, drawing 12 and losing 16. Obviously, Preston, they're a solid side. They're always one of those teams that seems to do well, and everyone's like, oh, I think they might. Everyone goes like, oh, they might make it into the playoffs, but then they just sort of drop off towards the end of the season and never really finish the season with any promise. The thing is, they need to strengthen. They're always buying players from lower leagues. They maybe need to be a bit more ambitious with their signings, and they maybe could make it into the playoffs. But again, I think it'll be another mediocre season for Preston. They start off well, everyone gets hyped about them, but then they just fall off towards the end. In 10th spot, again, maybe another shock, I'm going to go with Middlesbrough. Obviously, they finished 17th last season on 53 points, winning 13 games, drawing 14 and losing 19 of their games. The reason I think they'll finish 10th is obviously they've got a very solid squad on paper with Paddy McNair, Britson Malonga. But I think what I'll add to that as well is the fact they've got Neil Warnock now as manager. He's just a very, very good championship manager and just well known around these, and just knows his way around this league like his back garden, doesn't he? And yeah, I think that will be a real benefit for Middlesbrough as they look to get back to the Premier League. Obviously, they're in the Premier League a few years back, but since they came down, they've never really pushed for like promotion or anything, and have just been a bit of a mediocre mid to bottom low table side. Obviously, finishing 17th last season. Onto 11th spot, I think that will be Millwall. They obviously finished 8th last season on 68 points, winning 17, drawing 17 and losing 12 of their games. Millwall, again, they're a mediocre side, again, like Preston. They start the other way around from Preston. They seem to start the season as they normally do, like just mid-table, and then at the end of the season they seem to have a real go and push up towards those playoff spots, but just fall short because their like little surge for the playoffs just starts that game or two late, as they also finished 8th last season, 2 points outside those playoff spots on 68 points. So yeah, if they strengthen in the summer, maybe by a few good players that are like championship quality, are very good championship quality players, and I think they could have a real go and maybe push for playoffs, but I just don't think that will happen with some very, very strong teams coming down this year, so I think they will finish around mid-table. In 12th spot, I've gone with Bristol City, and like Forest and Preston, I've predicted them where they finished last season. Finished 12th last season, as I've just said, on 63 points, 17 wins, 12 draws and 17 losses. Obviously, they were up near the playoffs before lockdown, but then after lockdown they've just slumped, and they just had a really drab run of form and just couldn't really find any goals in their side or wins at all. Obviously, they have good strikers and Benakofobi, Farmajiji, but they just really weren't firing at all after the restart, and that saw the sacking of Lee Johnson. If they get a good manager in, they could maybe bounce back, but I just don't see much happening for Bristol this year. Well, next year, sorry. As if they get some signings, maybe, but nah. I think Bristol will finish around a mediocre 12th spot, mid-table, as they pretty much always do. On to the 13th to 21st section, and starting off with Derby County, I think they'll finish in 13th spot. That could change if they do get that 12 points deduction, because there's all those rumours going on that they will get it, like Wednesday did, obviously. But yeah, if they don't get it, I think they'll finish 13th, but if they do get it, obviously it'll be lower down, and I might have to change my prediction on that one. Last season, they finished 10th on 64 points, winning 17 games, drawing 13 and losing 16, obviously. I think that's a bit disappointing for them. Obviously, they had the signing of Wayne Rooney. They've still got a solid side around him, like Jack Marriott. They made the playoff final last year, didn't they? And adding Rooney to that side, you just thought that would strengthen their side even more and make them even better. But they just didn't really push on towards those playoff spots at any points, really. So, yeah, I think it'll be another mediocre season for Derby, and that 12-point deduction, if it does come, that could put them in real trouble like Wednesday are. 14th spot, I'm going to go for Blackburn Rovers. They finished 11th. Can't speak. In 14th position, as I've just said, I'm going to go for Blackburn. They finished 11th last season on 63 points, winning 17 of their games, drawing 12 and losing 17. For them, I think, again, like Derby, they're just a mid-table side, and like as we're getting down to the bottom end of the table, I think most of these teams, it's just pretty self-explanatory. They finish around this spot every year. Blackburn, obviously, they're maybe mid to higher table unlike some of the teams coming up. But yeah, I think this next season, I don't think they'll really add to anything in the transfer window. They never really do. Obviously, they lost David Raya last season, and he went on to be a good keeper for Brentford. But yeah, this one, I think it'll be another average season for Blackburn. Maybe a bit below average, but yeah, I think they'll finish in 14th spot. On to 15th spot, I think Reading will finish there. And again, it's one of them teams that just finish around the middle to bottom end of the table. Since they lost in the playoff final to Huddersfield, they've always been doing this, really. Finishing 14th spot last year, so I'm predicting them a place lower on 56 points. They won 15 games, drew 11 and lost 20. This one, again, it's like most teams down here. They finish around this spot every year and never really strengthen their team to push higher up the table, do they really? So they got Zhao from us, really. He's not much played for them much this season, obviously, with injuries and stuff. But if they can add to that squad, obviously, they've got a cracking midfielder, John Swift, but he might leave in the summer, as it is a similar case with QPR and Eze. And if he does leave, that could put them further down the table. But I don't know, to be honest. If they can hang on to him and maybe strengthen, maybe they could push further up the table. But I don't think they will. So I'm going to predict Reading in a 15th spot. 16th, I'm going to go for Huddersfield Town. Finished 18th last season on 51 points. They won 13, drew at 12, and lost 21 of their games. Obviously, they had the Cowley brothers come in, and they were doing really well, but then they sacked them, and that was almost karma in a way, as they got themselves dragged into that relegation fight. Well, not dragged into it. They could have been dragged into it, but again, I think they were never really in trouble with it, and they were always just like one team that could mathematically go down, but never were really going to go down. But yeah, I think they still had that solid side which took them to the Premier League. So, and they've just never really performed since they came down. But yeah, Huddersfield, again, it's just like Reading and that. They're just always around this spot in the table, and I think it's just a no-brainer to predict them around here. There's always that certain like clump of teams, like 4 or 5 of them, are just always around the area and just like the same like 14th to 18th or 19th area. They just switch over each season. It's always those like 5 in those positions, but they just like place over in different places each year. But yeah, on 17th spot now, I'm going to go for Birmingham. They finished 20th last season, could have gone down on the last day, but they're never really going to, like I just said about Huddersfield. Finished on 50 points, won 12, drew 14 and lost 20 of their games last season. And again, Birmingham, it's a bit of a disappointing season for them. Like always, down at St Andrews. Obviously, I went to watch Wednesday play at Birmingham, and they were a pretty average side, to be honest. And it was a very frustrating one because we were on a bad run of form, and if we hadn't, I think we should have won that game, to be honest. Obviously, conceding the last minute, but Murphy missed a 1-on-1 in that game, which would have won us the game. But yeah, Birmingham, again, they're one of those sides that are always in that little 14th to 19th little group. And yeah, I think they'll place around there again. 18th spot, I'm going to go for QPR. And it's a similar case with Reading. If they lose Eze, like in a similar case with Reading, but a bit more serious, because Eze is pretty much a carry for QPR, let's be honest. He's such a key player for them. They finished 13th last season, 58 points, 16 wins, 10 draws, and 20 losses in 13 spots. So a decent finish for them. But I think if they do lose Eze, they could be in a real trouble of getting relegated this season. But I don't know if he will, but I just think they're just going to slump a bit this season. They're obviously poor against us after lockdown. I don't know, QPR is one of those teams that are, again, like Birmingham and that, so it's just a no-brainer really where to predict them. 19th spot is newly promoted Coventry, who finished first in League One. They're back in the Championship for the first time in a while, to be honest. They finished on 67 points, 18 wins, 13 draws and 3 losses. Obviously, League One ended their season early and they went up on points per game. And they played some good football last season at Coventry. Obviously, I saw some of their highlights, and they look a decent side. If they strengthen with all that promotion money, they could actually make a decent go of this Championship thing over the next few years. If they stay up this season and then just continue to strengthen their squad, I reckon we could see them maybe fighting for playoffs like Millwall were. I don't know, just is that just me? I don't know. But yeah, Coventry, I think they'll finish 19th this season, and if they manage to add to their squad over the next few seasons, they could really push for a decent placement in the Championship. 20th spot, I'm going to go with Luton Town. I think they will have enough to stay up again. Obviously, they'll strengthen in the summer, as most teams who are threatened with relegation will. Finished 19th last season on 51 points with 14 wins, 9 draws and 23 losses, staying up over the course of the last few games with a few huge wins. And if they do add to that squad, I think they will be more likely to stay up, and will maybe, if they keep, I think it might be a similar case with Coventry, if they just keep strengthening their squad, they could become like a well-known Championship side, someone like Derby, who seems to always stay in it, like Reading and Birmingham and QPR and stuff like that. But yeah, now we move on to 21st spot, and I'm going to go with Wednesday, my team Wednesday. I think we'll finish in 21st spot. Obviously, we've got the 12-point deduction, which will be hard to overturn. Many people are predicting us to go down, but we've made some good signings. We've signed Fiseo Deli Bashiru. Don't know how to say that. I think I've said that right. And obviously Shea Dunkley from Wigan, who's a very, very solid centre-half in the Championship, knows his way around this league very well. Last season, we finished 16th on 56 points. 15 wins, 11 draws and 20 losses, which that sounds bad to be honest, but we were at the playoffs in Christmas, and then that Boxing Day loss, conceding them 2 goals in the 90th minute against Stoke. I think that lost us the game. That lost us our season really. If we'd have won that, won that game, I think we could have maybe got playoffs. I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit ambitious, but finishing 16th to say we were third at Christmas or something like that. Then, yeah, real disappointing finish for us last season. But I do hope we are able to overturn this 12-point deduction next season, because I really do not want to go down to League One. On to the bottom 3 now, which you may well have figured out from teams I've not said. In 22nd spot, I'm going to go with Rotherham. I think they are a yo-yo side, like I've said earlier in the video. Finished 2nd in League One last season on 62 points, winning 18 games, drawing 8 and losing 9, getting promoted on points per game. But they were pretty much already promoted. And again, if they do strengthen, I love Paul Warne as manager. He's such an honest manager, and I wish we had someone like him at Wednesday, because he just do a solid job. Someone who loves the club as much as he does. He'd just be a solid manager, and he is for Rotherham. But again, Rotherham, as I've said a few times, they're just a yo-yo club. They will strengthen, obviously, but I don't think it will be enough. Obviously, with this Championship's a tough league to stay up in. Anyone can beat anyone, really. But maybe that gives Rotherham an advantage. But yeah, I think they'll get. I think it'll be close. They may pick Wednesday, but I do think Wednesday will just nip in ahead of Rotherham and not get relegated and send Rotherham down, which would be a good thing as a Wednesday fan. Obviously, Rotherham, Yorkshire rivals with Wednesday. So yeah, now to 23rd spot, which features another Yorkshire side, and it is Barnsley. I think they will go down after their heroics on the last day last season against Brentford, staying up. But yeah, I think they might strengthen, but I don't think they'll strengthen enough, and will eventually see them relegated to League One again. They're like Rotherham, a yo-yo side. Last season they finished 21st, just a place above that relegation drop zone. Finished on 49 points, 12 wins, 13 draws and 21 losses. Saw them just stay up. But yeah, like I said, I think they'll strengthen, but I don't think they will be able to stay up this season, unfortunately, for Barnsley. They did well to stay up this season, but I just don't think. I think there'll be too many teams that beat them. Obviously, we got strong. I think the Championship's probably one of the strongest seasons we've got this year, with like the likes of Bournemouth, Watford, Middlesbrough. They're looking good this season. Stoke, they've strengthened quite a bit, and I just don't think Barnsley will be able to overcome their relegation status really, and just end up crumbling and going down. In 24th spot, probably the most obvious prediction would be Wickham, and I kind of do hope Wickham prove me wrong, because I really want them to stay in the Championship. That'd be a really good thing, really good achievement for them, like it was for Luton. Obviously, no one really expected them to get here. They finished 3rd last season in League One on 59 points, which for some reason they had more points. They had less points, than a few teams, but the points per game saw them overtake them and end up finishing 3rd, and then they obviously won the playoffs. They finished on 59 points, as I've just said, 17 wins, 8 draws and 9 losses, saw them get promoted, and it was a real achievement for them getting promoted. Obviously, their first time in the 2nd division for a while. But yeah, obviously they haven't got much money as it was. They were a very shocked team to go up. They've got a very solid squad, like Akin Fenwell, Joe Jacobson's a very good player. if they can add to that squad with the some players who are like from League One but are like top tier League One players, then they might have a good chance of staying up in the Championship. I just don't see it happening, unfortunately, for Wickham, and I think they will go down bottom by quite a decent margin, like Norwich were relegated from the Premier League this season. Alright lads, that is the end of the video. As you can see there, right now, that is my finished Championship table thing. That is the what I think it will end up as, and I'll just read it through for you now. Top we have Brentford, 2nd Watford, 3rd Bournemouth, 4th Swansea, 5th Stoke, 6th Norwich, 7th Nottingham Forest, 8th Cardiff, 9th Preston, 10th Middlesbrough, 11th Millwall, 12th Bristol City, 13th Derby, 14th Blackburn, 15th Reading, 16th Huddersfield, 17th Birmingham, 18th QPR, 19th Coventry, 20th Luton, 21st Sheffield Wednesday, 22nd, I don't know why I said 29th, 22nd Rotherham, 23rd Barnsley, 24th spot, bottom of the table will be Wickham Wanderers. That is my opinion on the Championship table and how I think it will finish out next season. Anyway lads, thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like down below and subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're at it if you aren't already. Also, I'll be leaving my socials links in the description, my Instagram and my TikTok. Obviously, I'm trying to build on TikTok, maybe grow my YouTube channel out a bit. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. See you, fellas. Like a Hellcat.